Now, the Marxists will then point out, if you look at hunter-gatherer societies in history without exception, if you look at the religions of those hunter-gatherer societies, what kind of beliefs, what kinds of practices, right, and so forth are universal to all of them? Well, religions, of course, have beliefs in various kinds of animating spirits and forces and supernaturalistic things and so forth. But what kinds of spirits are then central to the religions of hunter-gatherer societies? And it's no accident then that they will say that we have, well, the bison spirit or the lion spirit or the spirit of the bear or the spirit of the eagle or the hawk. And so all of the spirits that are important are spirits that are exemplars of being certain sorts of prey animals or certain sorts of predator animals. And so what we are then concerned with is trying to divine in our religious rituals, for example, what the bison spirit is planning, right? So on the basis of that, we can then predict where the bison is going to be. So the religion in that particular case, the channeling of the bison spirit and having a medicine man or having a shaman who can claim to be able to do this successfully, that is going to be something that is serving a valuable role to us economically speaking, because it reduces a certain amount of the uncertainty associated with our way of life. Similarly, we will, for example, have rituals. If I'm a young boy and I'm on the cusp of manhood, one of the things that will be important for me to be a man is to be able to prove that I am a successful hunter, and so there are going to be certain sorts of physical things that I have to do. But in many cases, actually almost all cases, cultures that are hunter-gatherer tribes will ritualize this passage from being a boy to being a fully fledged man who is a hunter in the tribe. And so the spiritual elements here involve, for example, say going out and independently killing a predator animal. And whichever predator animal I succeed in killing, I will then take something from it that I put in an amulet form, and that then becomes my totem. So if I kill a lion, right, then the lion becomes my totem, and I'll have a certain number of rituals that I will engage in to try to imbibe the spirit of the lion. And for example, when I'm then going out on a big major hunt, I will engage in certain sorts of rituals and practices that try to draw or empower the lion spirit within me in order to be able to go out and be successful as a hunter. Now the point here is that the fundamental thing that is really driving the, not the ship here, but driving the hunt, so to speak, is we need to make a living in a certain way. We are hunter-gatherers. There are lots of uncertainties, lots of difficulties associated with that economic mode of life. Our religion, though, is an expression of our underlying activities, economically speaking. It captures our uncertainties and tries to manage those. It formulates in a theoretical fashion, in an ideological fashion, our practices and justifies those and so on. So in this case here, the religion simply reduces to being an expression of underlying economic modes. If by contrast, we're not hunter-gatherers, say, on land, but we are hunter-gatherers on the sea. We're fishing peoples. Perhaps we have small boats that we have devised technologically to be able to go out into the waters. Well, then if we ask what kind of religious practices are going to be natural and normal there, and what do we find in fishing cultures? Well, we do find gods and goddesses of the water. Most of the major animals that live in the water, the fish and the other creatures there, have certain kinds of spirits. There are weather gods and so forth. Our religion then is cast in a much more nautical and water kind of direction. If we think about more advanced cultures, right, historically speaking, cultures that are no longer simply hunter and gathering, but say have discovered agriculture, well, what happens to the religions as cultures evolve from being hunter-gatherers to being agriculturally based economies? Well, then we have now the sun god becoming very important, the rain god becoming very important, various kinds of gods and goddesses associated with the crops. The earth herself becomes a goddess, and as we have any number of anthropomorphized beings that we come to believe in, think in terms of, engage in rituals, right, and so forth. So we have worship toward the sun god, and the sun then becomes anthropomorphized in that particular direction because of the absolute importance of the sun to generating the heat and light and so forth that is necessary to our mode of living. The interaction between the rain god and the earth goddess is absolutely important. It's not an accident, right, historically, that the rain personified is always male and the earth personified is always female. The clouds from which the rain come lie on top of the earth and sprinkle water right upon her to fertilize it, and it's from the body of the earth as from the body of the woman that life comes forth. And so what we then have in agricultural economies is a whole set of religious beliefs, a whole set of religious practices and rituals that again give expression to underlying economic concerns and are a rationalization or an ideologicalization of those underlying economic practices. So the argument then the Marxists will do is generalize, just as religion is a superstructure or secondary phenomenon based on underlying economic forces, everything else that goes on in the culture, a similar sort of story would need to be told as well.